Hello everyone. In today's session of CCNA series, I will discuss about SSH, also known as Secure Share. Also, we'll configure some network device for remote access using SSH. So, as you know, there are some common methods used to access and manage network devices, for example, routers or switches. Some of these are console, telnet, and SSH. Console access requires a direct physical connection between your computer and the router using a console cable. There is a console port you can see. You can connect your laptop through RJ45 or DB9 adapter to your console port. The next one is Telnet, which is a network-based protocol that allows you to remotely access the router CLI over a network. Telnet is considered insecure because it transmits data including username and password in plain text, making it vulnerable to eavesdropping. Telnet is used for remote management and configuration of devices, especially in environment where security is not a primary concern. I repeat it again. It is used in environment where security is not a primary concern. And the last one we have is SSH, which is going to be our today's discussion. SSH provides remote access to the router CLI over a network similar to Telnet, but SSH encrypts all the data transmitted between the SSH client and the server, protecting the data and password, making it resistant to eavesdropping and other network-based attacks. Actually, it uses the same local login authentication method as Telnet with a locally configured username and password. Let's go ahead and configure a switch to allow a SSH access. So for that, I have a small topology wherein I have a PC connected to a switch and a switch connected to a router, which is our gateway actually. So I have one subnet 192.168.1.0, from which 1.3 is assigned for PC, 1.1 is assigned for switch, and 1.2 is assigned for a router. So we'll try to telnet from PC to the switch or from the router to the switch. So uh, to configure a switch to allow SSH access, there are three main steps. Okay. First one is you need to create a local user. The second one is you need to generate SSH encryption keys on the switch and then configure the VTY lines accordingly to allow the SSH access. First thing is, before we go ahead and configure, let me hop onto the PC and show you if I can telnet or SSH the switch. The IP of the switch, as we saw, was 192.168.1.1. So let me try to connect. So it is not allowing me to connect. The current session is closed, it says. So similarly, we will try to SSH as well. I will use the username test. Similarly, it's not allowing me as well. So let's go ahead and configure the switch. Okay. So the first thing what we need to do is configure local username first and some additional command required to configure local user. The command to configure local user is username. I will configure it as test and the password as test as well. Okay. And once the first step is done, we need to go on to the second step, that is to generate SSH encryption keys. The SSH server uses the fully qualified domain name or FQDN of the switch as input to create that key. So FQDN is created from the host name and the domain name of the switch. It's created from two things, okay? Host name and domain name. So for that, we need to change the default host name, that is switch. I will change it to test or test switch. Okay, and the command for that is host name in the global configuration mode, and then I will configure it as test switch. So that will change our host name. And to configure your domain, you need to type IP domain name. I will configure it as SSH test. Okay, and once you are done with the configuration of FQDN, this will complete the switch FQDN. And now the next step is, in the second step, there is another step. We need to generate the SSH encryption keys, and the command for that is crypto key generate RSA, and then put it in the size of the key. It's better to use something above 500. This will enable SSH2 as well, or else you need to type in another command, that is IP SSH version 2. Now the second step is done, that is to generate SSH encryption keys. Okay, as you can see, the key is generated. Okay, now the third step, which is most important step in SSH configuration, is to configure the VTY lines. Okay, now let's get into the VTY configuration. You can configure like 0 to 15 or 4. So let me type 0 to 4. First thing is you need to block telnet, because what happens is telnet, as it is not secure, we need to block telnet. Okay, there is one command under the VTY LAN which will allow you to block what type of connection, or allow what type of connection, or what type of protocols onto your terminal. So here we will allow only SSH, and we will test it by telnetting into this device. Okay, now another thing which we need to configure is allow login using local username. That is login, the command is login local. So this will allow, whenever we are SSHing into this device, to use our local username. Now with this configuration, let's go ahead and verify the SSH. Okay, so let me hop onto the PC, and then first let me try telnet. It should not allow me to telnet. As you can see, it's not allowing me to telnet. Now let's try SSH. The username which we created was test. As you can see, it let me log in into the device. Okay, there are some show commands through which we can verify the status of the SSH and more information regarding SSH. One of the command is show IP SSH. This will tell you the status of the SSH. On this switch, we have SSH version 2 enabled, and the authentication timeout by default is 120, and authentication retry is 3 times. Also, there is another command, show SSH. This will tell you the user logged in. Okay, as you can see, my username test. It uses HMAC so and so encryption version. So these are the show commands which will tell you some details about the SSH. Also, we'll try to SSH from the router. Okay, let me hop onto the router. First, let me try to telnet. Let's see if it is allowing or not. It's not allowing. So let me SSH. The command from router is this. Here you go. You can see it is allowing me to SSH from the router as well. That's it for this session. I hope this was informative for you. Thank you for watching.